Yeah. Okay. Well, we're here to talk about first home buyer stuff.
Yes.
And I'm very excited about that.
Love that.
I'm Martina, and I work with the agency.
And I'm Heather Ohman, and I am with UMortgage.
And we're going to tell you all the good stuff about first-time home buyers. Mm-hmm. Things that, as a 25-year-old home buyer, I really wish I had known.
Yes.
I was reflecting a couple months ago about that, and I just wanted the house. I didn't care about like anything else. I didn't think about any of the to-dos. I didn't think about what's a loan. I don't know. I just applied for something with my husband and we got it. So
Yay!
Yay!
Congratulations!
Thank you. To be like ignorantly in bliss, you know?
Yeah. I think that was my first one as well. I was married. He was 26. I was 25. And we bought this house and just went, oh, it worked. But I learned he had like a judgment on his credit because of that.
Oh,
from Taco Bell for a $7 check. I've been there for years. So there are some eye-opening things about what credit is or was, or what things are lurking in your histories. And, you know, we worked through some things to get to that house.
Yeah, that sounds like it was probably a very unique journey for you.
So fun.
So fun.
Who knew?
Lesson of that story is disclose your financial history to your partner before buying a house. Right?
It would have come in handy.
Yeah.
Or fix the mistakes of your childhood long before they become a problem.
That would be good too. Yeah. Maybe I can talk about like some of the things that I wish I had known, and then see what you in your role have answers to for that.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of the pieces that I didn't think about was for sure like money outside of just the cost of the house, because there's so many more things that come with that.
Yes.
So let's just start there, actually.
So there's a lot of people that think that they have to have 20% down on a house. They're so worried about the down payment that they don't think about the closing costs or the maintenance costs or the things that are outside of that. And so this hyper focus on 20% down, which isn't accurate. You don't have to have 20% down. In fact, you can often have 3% as a first-time home buyer, 3% or 3.5%. Or if you're a VA, you can get a 0% down. So you don't have to necessarily have that. But there are closing costs associated that people don't think about initially, where you're paying upfront property taxes and homeowners insurance and your title and your appraisal. And that money doesn't just come from nowhere. You've got to have some extra funds to pay for that. But then there's the maintenance, like you were talking about. If your house comes with a yard, you've got to take care of it. Do you have a lawnmower? Do you need to buy the things to take care of the lawn or the yard, or changing filters, things that people have never done before, maybe. Mm-hmm. The utilities that come that, you know, if you rent, oftentimes you have some utilities, but most of the time when you're buying, it's going to be bigger than what your rent was. And so your utility payments are higher, things like that.
So when you work with a first-time home buyer, and these are things that they haven't like actively thought of, what goals can be set for them to not only think about the loan and the 20% down or whatever percent they put down? Do you ever set goals with them for planning for the other pieces?
Absolutely. I think it's super important to consider your life goals. There are homebodies that just want to live at home and just be at home. I'm going to play my games. I'm going to read my books. I just want to be in my house. And they're much more willing to spend more money on their home because that's what they want to be doing. But then there are people who want to travel and want the luxury designer clothes and the handbags and the things that matter to them. So you have to consider what your life goals are, what you want to be spending your money on. And then just because you qualify for a higher amount does not mean that that's the right fit for you and what your goals are long term. So none of us want to be house poor. So it's a matter of, okay, if you want some money for lifestyle choices, you want to eat out every night of the week because whatever, or do you want to budget? Do you want to earn, we talk about their goals and what those things are. so that we can figure out what the reality is of how much you're going to be paying into that, you know.
Yeah. So the thought of like your lifestyle has me thinking about home buyers and then renters. So for someone who is considering possibly purchasing a home for the first time, what but they're also playing with the idea of just being a renter because that is easier in some ways. What kind of thoughts or guidance would you have for them?
So if someone is renting, there's a few pros to those. You don't have to have as much money to get into a rental as you do to get into a home. You have more flexibility in being able to get up and leave if you have something. If you know that you're not living in a place long term, say you're just graduating from college and you don't know where your career is going to take you, or you're single and you don't know where your spouse to be may or may not be from, and you might be leaving, there's some lifestyle things to consider in whether having the flexibility of getting out and being able to leave pretty easily is good for you. Buying a home gives you a more permanent payment, so that you're fixed on your payment. You know what that's going to be. The rent isn't going to be going up. You're not dealing with that. You have the flexibility of making it your own. You can paint a wall and make holes in the walls and hang things wherever you want to, or change the carpet or whatever, just to make it so that it's yours and it's your personality and it feels more like you. You're earning equity. And so you're not paying somebody else's future, you're paying into your own. And so it's kind of that feeling of, do you want that? But also, for someone who's never owned a home before, do you want the maintenance of it? Can you handle that? It can be an emotional thing if you're buying into something and, the water heater blows up and, 6 months into it. Usually you have a warranty that covers that. But
Yeah.
let's say 2 years into it, and then you've got to deal with the repercussions. It's nice when you're a renter to have the landlord take care of it, where you're the one that's responsible as a home buyer. So you kind of have to know if you're mentally prepared for it, if you're, physically prepared for that, if you're wanting those things. If you know that you want the stability, you have stable income, you have a consistent way of life, it could definitely be worth looking into. Look, home ownership is my favorite thing. I love owning a home. I've owned a home. I mean, even as a single mom, it was the first thing I wanted to do, was give my kids some stability and have a place that they could feel like was their own. But at the end of the day, it's not for everyone. And so it's figuring out, I love having conversations with people at the beginning, just figuring out what their goals are, what are their concerns, because some of the concerns are met with homeownership and some of the concerns aren't. And so it's figuring out individually what's right for you instead of what's right for everybody.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I think sometimes as a first time home buyer that you think like, oh, I've got to make the decision and jump all in. But as I've been a realtor, I feel like we're just a team. I'm a team to help somebody. You're a team to help someone on the team, right? And we're not saying you have to buy the house now, but we're here to like guide of what that looks like, the entire process.
Yep.
And where you're at now. Could you buy a house now, or do we need to wait, a few months or a year, whatever that looks like? And it's cool to be of support to people who are unsure of the process because they've never done it before.
And it can be very scary and intimidating.
Yeah.
There's a lot with, building credit, and a lot of people think that they have to have perfect credit. They don't. There's a lot of programs that are a lot more flexible with a little bit lower credit score, but knowing is the battle. Like I said, my ex-husband, his Taco Bell judgment on his credit, that was a big deal, and we got it fixed and it was great and we got the house. But it's one of those where you don't know what you don't know. And so talking about your credit, figuring out what's on it, how can you improve it? The better your credit score is, the better your interest rates will be. And everybody wants better interest rate because then you can have more house for less money. Just there's so many benefits to that. But it's the knowing, it's making a plan, it's knowing I need to be in a job for 2 years, or if I get a lot of bonus or commission or overtime pay, you have to have those for 2 years for us to be able to use that extra income. And so it's doable and it's usable, but it's making that plan and knowing I need to have that for an extended period of time.
Yeah. What programs do you specifically offer for someone who's buying for the first time?
Oh, all kinds of things
to support, like the interest rate part as well, or the down payment, whatever.
There's traditional conventional loans. First time home buyers on a conventional loan, they only have to come to the table with 3% down. Oh. So it's much less for a first time home buyer than it is for a subsequent home buyer. And that means that you haven't owned a home in 3 years. So you can become a first time home buyer again. If you sell a home, you take a break, you've been renting for 3 years while you figure it out, you come back and you can be a first-time home buyer again, getting the same kind of perks for that. They tend to give you a tiny bit better interest rate that way as well. There's FHA loans, which give you more flexibility with your debt to income ratios, so you can have a little bit more debts, and you can have a little bit lower of a credit score, and you come with 3.5% down. There's pros and cons to both of those. You're still going to be paying mortgage insurance. You're still going to be paying on an FHA upfront mortgage insurance. There's some payments that are going to come into play with that, but you'll tend to get some decent rates with that because it's government backed. Okay. You've got VA loans, which you have no down payment. And then Utah has down payment assistance programs. There's some grants. The difference between a grant and down payment assistance: a grant is typically free money that you don't have to pay back. They're harder to get. There aren't as many of them, but there are some available. And then there are down payment assistance, which is basically a second loan on top of your mortgage, and where you may not have to pay interest right now, or you might have a small interest payment. Eventually you have to pay those back. So if you're refinancing, if you sell your home, that money gets paid back. Okay. So it eats into your equity. It takes away from some of your income that way. And so it's not always the best choice, but it can help someone get into it.
Yeah, that makes sense. When I bought my house, we didn't have a full 20% down. We had a smaller amount. I don't remember what amount, but we had to pay like an insurance because of that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, it's mortgage insurance. So basically it is insurance for the lender that it protects them. It protects them to make sure that you're going to make your payments and things. So when you get a conventional loan, your mortgage insurance goes away after if you have 80% loan to value. So once you've put 20% of your principal, paid it down by 20%, that mortgage insurance goes away. On an FHA loan, that's not the same. So on an FHA loan, you're paying an upfront chunk of money. It can be added into your loan, but it's an upfront mortgage insurance premium. And then you're paying that for the life of the loan. And I mean, there are some exceptions to that I won't get into because there's too many details. Yeah. But it's one of those things where you're always paying that. And it can be a couple $100 a month that you're paying on top of your mortgage just for that mortgage insurance.
Okay. Is there a better way if you're doing FHA or any other loans, or it just really depends on the person's situation?
It depends on the situation. Running the numbers both ways is always the best thing. I just did a loan for a couple, and we were looking between conventional and FHA, but because they didn't have enough money to have that 20% equity off the bat, their interest rate and their payment was going to be lower on an FHA loan than a conventional loan, just because of that mortgage insurance. The mortgage insurance premium was cheaper with the FHA loan than the mortgage insurance would have been on a conventional loan. Okay. So the nuances get weird. Just price it out like both ways and see what works.
And that's why you work with a lender.
And a good lender will give you the options so that you can see what those differences are so that you can make those choices yourself. My whole plan is to educate someone enough that you feel comfortable with the decisions you're making. This is the biggest financial decision of your life most often, And so it's educating you to feel comfortable, to know what you're doing, what you're choosing, what your options are, and making sure that you feel good about those decisions.
Yeah. So my understanding is too that if you work with a lender that's not inside like a big bank versus a big bank, they can't do a lot of wiggle room where a lender can.
So banks are retail and they have their own set of products that they use. They can't vary from the products that they have. And so they're locked into those. I'm a broker. So as a broker, I can shop the loan to dozens of different lenders. And I have the ability to find something that works for just about everybody. So like today I was working on a loan for somebody who they were working with a lender. That lender wouldn't loan on log cabins. I found someone that would, and the whole thing worked out for them so that we could do that. But it's when people are locked into the options that they have and they don't fit in that box, they're kind of out of luck. So working with a broker where I can go through and shop the best rates from dozens of different people rather than just one bank's rates, it gives people a much better ability to have options and make better decisions that way.
Yeah. I'm thinking back to like my time of buying a home. I did it through the company that I worked with because it was through a banking institution. So they gave us a perk just because we were employees there. But I think it would have been really nice to have had more options than just what was given. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that especially first-time homebuyers don't realize is you're not locked into a lender. Like you can price people out, even though realtors come with options. Like you have your relationships with lenders and you'll say, hey, I think you ought to call this person. That I know that they do a good job. Those referrals are really appreciated and great, but you're not tied into those. Like you can find your own person. You can find 3 different people. You can price it out with whomever you want to, and there's no problem with finding different people to price out your loan.
Cool. When you have somebody that goes through you and they get their loan, how often, I imagine it is sold off. This is something that I did not know. I did not know that who I did my loan through would get sold. And then right now we're on company number 3 to own our loan. Yeah. So I imagine that's the same working with you.
Yes.
That it then gets
very
sold
common
to a new company.
Very common.
To manage it after the process, right?
Yes. Yes.
Can you speak any more to that, or
that's the name of how people make money in the world?
Okay.
They get it all set up, they send it out, people buy them in packages. Like you get Chase Bank will buy bulk packages, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, Chase owns my loan. Or there are certain lenders that will hold and service them forever, but most will sell it because they make money on it.
Okay. That's an important piece to understand and know, because one day you try to pay and you can't log on because you didn't open the mail that said.
And that's the thing. They will always send you a goodbye letter from the company that is selling it, and then a hello letter from the new company, and they want to get paid, so they will tell you all the ways that you can pay and how to make that happen. But you have to open that mail.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. You've got to check your mail and read the contents of it for sure. I'm thinking a little bit about like the process of buying a home, and you're not too much involved with like the where and what it looks like. That's more on the realtor side. But I want to know about you. When you have purchased a home, what were some of the factors that said, okay, here is where it's going to be? Like, what were you looking for? What was important to you?
This is so unique to each person. So sounds so okay.
It is unique to each person.
Every home that I ever purchased was brand new. It was a new construction.
Okay.
And I did that because I didn't want any bad juju coming in from anyone else. Like I think that there's energy that lives in space, and I just wanted to make my own energy in that space and in that home. And so that feels bizarre to say, but all of that was kind of my own thing until I got married a year ago, and I live in a home that's 26 years old, and we're remodeling it right now. We're in the middle of all of that. But for me, it was location, a space for like the first home that we bought. I was pregnant with my first kid, and I just wanted a space that was going to be convenient for work, convenient for my kids, a good place, around where we were close to family, those kind of things. But that was just my own personal thing. If I was to go back, and look at a home, I would have looked for location is huge. I would look for the best resale because I want to make money on it. So what are the hot places that are growing so that I can make more money out of those? Because eventually most people don't stay in their first home. So knowing that you're going to sell that again at some point, I want to make money off of that.
Yeah.
Or turn it into a rental. What would be a good location that I could make some money that way as well? Anyway, those were the things that kind of went through my head. What about you when you were first looking? What did that?
I was like so dead set on we're gonna be in Sugar House, we're gonna be like where it's hip and hopping, and I ended up in Sandy because honestly a lot of people
not too far away.
No, just not in Sugar House. But a lot of people that I grew up with, we've all kind of like ended up in Sandy, which is kind of funny. But I think at the time of purchase, price was right in Sandy. And I was determined to have a house that we'd just like be in forever. I didn't want to move, which is so silly because as I've gotten to know myself better, I could probably move every 2 years. Like I changed my mind a lot, and that's okay. So that is not where I want to be, but we've been there for 11 years, a long time. But now I feel like, well, I have this either like city, closer to city, or more to Sugar House, or area, or like the homestead. It's a very I can't decide which is why we're still where we're
Two different lifestyles. It's great.
Yeah. But for me at the time, it was important, even though we didn't have kids, I wanted to be in a place where we could have kids. Yeah. And we're super close to the mountain, and that is an important piece for me. I do wish that I had looked more into like what's around. I love going out to eat, and I love like local places. I'm not a big fan of this is on every corner.
That's why you wanted Sugar House.
That's why I wanted Sugar House. Yeah. So that is something like I would want to advise any new home buyer to look at that, to look at your lifestyle, like we already talked about, right? So what do you like to do? Do you like to walk to places or ride your bike? I love riding bikes, but not where I live because it goes like this all the time. Yeah. So that doesn't feel like possible all the time, especially when you have kids, to just get on a bike and go somewhere. And then like who is in that neighborhood? Have you checked out the neighbors? I don't think there's anything wrong with knocking on a door and saying, I'm considering buying this house on your street. Like, can you tell me about your neighborhood? If you're brave enough to do that.
One of my best friends that I met in one of my homes was because I did that. My husband and I at the time, we were driving through the neighborhood. We fell in love with the house, and we were really considering it. And so this one girl was outside, and I'm like, hey, do you live here? She's like, actually, no, my sister does. And so we met her that way. And then her sister ended up living 2 houses away from us for 10 years. But it was such a great experience to just get to know, what do you know of the area? What do you think about the things here? What do you think about, all the questions that we had? And they were pretty straightforward with things. What I didn't know is that we were a block away from a mink farm because it was the winter, so you didn't smell that.
Oh my gosh. And they didn't tell you?
No, nobody brought it up. It just was like out of sight, out of mind. And we didn't. God. So that's one of the things I would say is like, get to know what's in the area. I lived by a train track I didn't know existed at one point. The mink farm was another thing. And those were the 2 big ones for me. But
Okay. I do think to a degree that should be the realtor's job as well, to like let you know of what is
Yeah.
in the area, especially something as a train track. That's pretty
Keep in mind,
important.
I always bought new build homes, so I always was with the builder.
You were
And they're
the
not going to
builder.
try to tell you those things.
That's fair.
So,
But if you are working with a realtor, it's okay to ask, right? To say, hey, what do you know about this area?
yeah.
And if they don't know it too well, they'll find the answers. I know I will find the answers for anyone.
And do your own due diligence. Don't just rely on other
Yes.
people. Drive the neighborhood at different times of day. See what the house looks like at different times. If you know the area, like consider the snow and which side of the driveway, like which side of the street the driveway is on, because one side is going to melt and the other side is going to be ice all the time.
I was just going to say that because my house faces north and my neighbors always have less snow than me, and ours just sits because it's cold and icy and dark.
Yep.
Yep.
It matters, but you get the better sunsets in the backyard.
Yes, we do. That we do.
I mean, there's pros and cons to all of it.
Yeah. So what matters the most, right? Is it the sunset or is it not having to shovel ice every morning? So
lately we have no snow, so
neither here nor there.
No, there's the things that I wish that I had known were just simply getting to know the area, doing my own due diligence, and really getting a feel for what that area offered me. And I really got lucky. I got lucky with great neighbors, great friends, great schools for my kids. I mean, I ended up in Lehigh for 21 years, something like that, just because it was a convenient location when we first, I got married and we found an apartment, and then we liked the area enough. We bought a house a mile away, and then I moved to Idaho for a minute and came back to Lehigh because we loved it so much. Like it was a really good fit for our family. And then as my kids got older, they wanted to be around their friends, so we kept them in the same schools after divorce. But it just was a good experience of like knowing the area. I went through the whole boom of, I moved in there a long time ago. Don't give away the ages, right? But to see my kids go through birth to graduating from high school there, it was really good for them.
And I imagine like moving to Lehigh was probably a little bit unexpected, like that decision.
Oh, for sure. I told because I grew up in Provo. I went to high school in Provo, and everything I knew about Lehigh was that's where all the Hicks were. It's where all the cowboys were. Like I would never, it's what's the movie? Oh my gosh. The Kevin Bacon movie, Footloose. It's Footloose. Okay. It's like the middle of nowhere. And I lived there when it was the middle of nowhere. And I loved it, weirdly. Before Traverse Mountain was a thing, before grocery stores were there was an Albertsons on Main Street. Like there was nothing. It was great.
That's cool. So I guess that would be another piece of advice is we might think that we want this one specific place, but take a moment to look outside, because you may actually find what the house that you want in a different location, and it might provide more of what you didn't even know that you wanted.
Yeah.
Some people know I will live in the avenues and only in the avenues, and that's okay. But others, I just want to encourage you to think outside of the box as well. And if you come back to like what the initial box was, that's fine, do it. But perhaps there's greater possibilities outside.
And I do believe what's meant for us comes to us.
Yeah.
And so, you put an offer on a home or something and you get it, great. Or if you don't get it, like that's not the end of the world. I really do believe that what is meant for you will come. The right thing is there somewhere for you.
Absolutely. Okay. Do you feel like there's anything that any advice that you'd want to give to a first-time home buyer that we haven't talked about?
I would say talk to a lender really early on, just not because you have to get a full credit pull or anything else, but just to get a plan, because it might surprise you what you qualify for, or just because you qualify for something, realizing what you may or may not be comfortable spending so that you can have your lifestyle choices. There's nothing that I feel more sad about than a buyer who falls in love with a home and can't qualify for it, or that your dreams are shattered because this thing that you wanted so desperately is just not going to work for you. But it's coming up with a plan on what debts to pay off. Sometimes it's great to have them all paid off. Sometimes it's not beneficial. So instead of spending your money to pay off something may not be the right thing, it might be better to keep that money as reserves or as a down payment. Just having the conversation with the lender early to know your scenario, your situation, so that when you do go looking at homes, you're prepared knowing this is what I qualify for, this is what I'm looking for, this is the thing that's important to me, or this is what I feel comfortable with.
That impacts you tax-wise too. That's something that I'm working on, is having checking what my husband and I qualify for next, because we're trying to come up with a tax strategy that's going to support us for our next goals. And so then you learn, okay, I qualify for this, I maybe want to qualify for more, so then you come up with a whole plan to get to the next place, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's good sound advice.
And to throw this one into it, sometimes you can qualify for, an amount if you find a place that has, let's say, a rental unit in it, an ADU in it. You might qualify for more if you know that you're okay with renting out that space inside your home. It might be a really good income generator for you, and it helps you to qualify for maybe a better home.
Yeah.
Again,
totally.
It's all about your plans and your long-term goals. So we're here to talk through those.
Love it. How can people contact you if they want to chat with you about their loan goals?
Well, you can find me on Instagram, Heather Ohman, Ohman. You can find me on Facebook, Heather Ohman. You can find me on heatherohman.com. You can find me, all the places. Or you can just email me, Ohman, Hohman, at the letter UMortgage.com. Or, I don't know, you can find me.
Just call out her name in the universe. She'll come.
Heather Ohman.
Or you can also contact me, and I will connect you guys for sure. Yes. Absolutely.
What would you say, as the final thing for me, what would you say is your favorite thing about owning a house?
Ooh, like just in general, or? Well, I love being able to sit out in my yard, and I know you can do that anywhere, but it's my yard that I can do whatever with or not do anything with. I love the freedoms. I think that's what it comes with, of choosing what you're going to do or what you're not going to do on a property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Making it your own.
Yep. Absolutely.
I think
putting the hole where you want to
put
your picture and not worrying about anyone caring about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
For sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. How do you think that went?
Well, let's